First of all, for and in behalf of the province of Cebu and the Cebuanos, allow me to thank Secretary Duque, together with our other honorable secretaries, for coming over to this special session called for by our provincial board. You know, last June 15th, when I extended that invitation in the Senate hearing, and when I said that we are willing to ask the provincial board to revisit the ordinance, that was a hand extended across the chasm that divided us in the difference of protocols between Cebu and Resolution 114 of the Iatf. So let me tell you, after I had studied and restudied, after I had listened as much as I could, I came upon the conclusion that economic lockdowns were not the answer. As I went around the province, let me tell you, while others chose to hide, I chose to risk myself and go around all of our towns and cities to see for myself what was really happening on the ground. And I saw the suffering. Businesses closed, jobs were lost, livelihoods were lost, people were hungry. And I told our mayors, do we have enough funds? Are we now going to spend all of our resources to buy rice and canned goods to keep people begging us for food because they no longer could not purchase a kilo of rice? We don't have enough resources. I made that bold decision a year ago when we reopened tourism. We went around. We started when the province of Cebu was finally granted MGCQ status where tourism would be allowed. And so we started going around. Since July of last year. For Cebu City, probably MGCQ status has been on 10 months because they went back to MECQ. But the province of Cebu was never put on MECQ. Even when cases were rising in the city of Cebu, we were able to manage COVID-19. And so for the province of Cebu, we've been on MGCQ status for almost a year now. That, in spite of having opened the economy again, going to our towns, to our cities in the province, will show you an economy that is slowly starting to recover. I speak as one who is tasked to look after the welfare of millions of Cebuanos. If it were left to me alone and my family, I'd probably have decided otherwise. And I would have luxuriated in the comfort of my home, lest I be infected with the dreaded COVID-19. But you see, we are more than ordinary people. We are tasked with a duty to serve those that trusted in us. We are the elected officials of this province. And that is probably why all congressmen in the province of Cebu, practically all towns and cities in the province of Cebu, passed resolutions urging the Iatf to accept the Cebu Protocol. Because we interact with the people. We listen to their plea. We know how much they are suffering. And we cannot turn a blind eye to just consider them as data and statistics. I deeply respect the models and analysis of Dr. Silvania. Being the technical advisors with such impressive resumes, I know that you take it upon yourselves with a deep sense of responsibility that the safety of Filipinos must be guaranteed and should be paramount. There was an attempt to ask the HRAC whether they are in fact following all protocols, and the expected answer came. However, reality is, from the meetings that I had conducted with the HRAC, and as admitted, they cannot always monitor these OFWs and ROFs because they lack hotel staff. I asked, do you change linens or towels within the 10-day isolation period? The answer was, well, for budget hotels, no. For the better hotels, they take out the linen and the towels, put it outside the door. They leave the clean linen outside the door too, and it's the OFW or ROF that changes the linen. Theoretically. PNP personnel that are assigned in hotels are doing exactly that. They're outside the hotels. I have had numerous statements from those that actually had to undergo this hotel isolation time, where OFWs would congregate in the rooms of other OFWs. I asked the same question. Those that were present in the meeting will confirm this. How do your staff control congregation of OFWs and ROFs? And the answer was, we can only speak through the loudspeaker because we cannot approach them. We can only monitor them on CCTV cameras. Policy is great, but that must be translated into actual reality. So my question is, if there were indeed, with all due respect to Secretary Galvez, all of these numerous regulations that we should be imposing upon hotels that are not, I'm sorry to say, that are not actually, religiously, rigidly followed, can we not impose the same regulations in our barangays, with our BHERTs, where we have PNP personnel distributed throughout all of our towns and cities? What makes a hotel room far safer and more hygienic than the strict protocols that I had defined? Executive Order number 5, February 3, 2020, as regards home quarantine. I was the first to define what home quarantine should be all about. the figures will show us, as has been presented. My executive order number 17, please flash that on the screen. The Iatf came up with Resolution 95, which mandated the swab upon arrival and swab on the 5th day. Resolution number 96, which mandated taking out the swab upon arrival and swabbing on the 5th day. Resolution number 98, which now pegged it on the 6th day. And on those months, our cases steadily rose. When my executive order number 17, the graph please. When executive order number 17 was implemented on March 31st, that was when our cases started to decrease. Why? It's logic. It's simple. It doesn't even need some model or scientific analysis. When OFWs reach the hotel, they interact with hotel staff. They interact with chambermaids and all others who go home to their families. And these have not yet been tested. When these hotel staff go home to their families, they could possibly already have been infected. And so, the great infection game continues.